Okay, so we're ready to create our Cine camera and we're going to animate it. So the point is we're going to recreate 5 camera cuts of the realistic render matinee. And so per camera right now, we're going to create a level sequence, and I'll show you that by right-clicking animation level sequence. We're going to drag a Cine camera actor with the new level sequence selected. There's a couple different ways of doing this. This is going to be, I'm going to show you a couple different types of cameras and kind of different ways of bringing this in. And some are a little bit more, I would say labor intensive because it's not really labor intensive, but it's just something to be aware of. We're going to add camera cuts track and add camera cuts track is going to talk to our master shots track. I'll show you that too. And we're going to add in a camera in the sequencer, and then we're going to set animation keys. So let's switch to live here real quick. And so our scene, I have an ArchViz cams directory down here. I'm just going to create an animation level sequence, and we're just going to call it cam1. And just for the sake of demonstration, I'm just going to duplicate this to show this is how we're just going to create all these level sequences, and these will represent our 5 cameras. And now I'm going to duplicate it one more time, and this is going to be our master cam. So this is going to, I'll show you this later, but I just want to get it set up so we have an organization for it. So we can save those. And when we dig into our cam1, it goes into our sequencer. We've already got everything laid out. We're kind of ready to go here. So in the mode window here, under the cinematic, there is a Cine camera actor. First thing we're going to do, we're going to just drag a camera into. I'm not selecting. I actually have the camera level sequence selected. So as I bring in the Cine camera actor, and just drop it into the scene. You see nothing happens in here, but it exists here in the world. This is called a possessible camera, and you'll see like the little icon here, a little orange dot. We're going to make a camera also through the sequencer, and this is going to be a different type of camera. I want to show you a couple steps here that you can do. If your camera exists in the world outliner, you can drag this camera into your level sequence, and you're kind of building up this level sequence to make it accessible to our master level. One thing this is missing, we're going to need a camera cut track. This is how I'm communicating with the shots track, and I'll show you the shots track in a bit of the master, what we're calling the master level sequence. So you also need to, this is Cine camera 98, and we're going to add this camera to this camera cuts. So now we've got our windows here. We can lock our Cine camera actor, and what it's going to do, this is we're now piloting this camera by locking this little camera to it. Now our camera cuts, I can lock the viewport, and it's going to be the same thing right now because this is when we see it in the shots window or the master shots window. This will make a little bit more sense too. I'm going to unpilot this by clicking out of it. And this is, you can start moving your camera around. We're going to frame on him by hitting F. So that's our camera that's in the scene. So you can kind of move it up. And then you'll see on the right camera, since we have it, locked to the cinematic viewport, so we can kind of move that around. So I wanted to show you that's one way of bringing in a camera, and this is a possessible camera. So let me, just for the sake of demonstration here, let's just get rid of this guy. I'm going to kill him in the world outliner. Yes, he's going to turn red here because he doesn't exist anymore. Delete and just delete. I want to start over here fresh here and show you another way of making a camera. So this, you can make a camera here through the little camera icon in the sequencer window. So let's click on it, and it's actually generated a camera cuts track for us, which is great. It's assigned our camera actor 99 to put it in the world, but there's a different icon to it now. You see this little lightning bolt. It means it's a spawned camera. And the spawned, you can see a little spawned notice right there. So the difference is this camera exists only in relation to this level sequence, this camera 1 level sequence that we're in here. If I deleted this level sequence, this camera will go away. It will not exist anymore in the scene. The previous camera, the possessible camera, didn't have this icon, just had the little orange dot. It would still exist in the world outliner. We could still use it in another level sequence. So I just wanted to kind of point out there is, it's nice that this one creates a camera cuts track, and it's all, nice and pretty there and stuff. So it's just one little less step you have to take, but be aware that it does create a different type of camera. And it's really personal preference. I mean, you're going to keep your level sequences around. You're not going to not going out of your way to get rid of it. So it's just one of those things where it's, it's a game term. It took a while, not a while for me to get used to it, but it's just something different. I'm not used to it. I'm more used to a possessable camera, and coming from a Maya background, or if in ArcViz, a lot of Max people will probably be more interested in a possessable, but it doesn't really matter. It's up to you. So I'm going to make a possessable camera. So we'll just, again, just to show you this, what happens, watch Cine Camera Actor 99 when I delete this level. And we're going to force delete, and it goes away. We can't find it. If we look for 99, it's not there. So just wanted to describe what's going on with that. So I'm going to just create a new level sequence here. Animation level sequence. We're just going to call this one back KIom since we just deleted that, and save it. Dig into it, and we're going to do a control drag of the Cine Camera Actor, and we're going to need to add the camera cut track, and we're camera 102 now, so we're just going to add camera 102 actor to this. And so this is our camera. We're kind of getting it ready to animate now. But before we start doing that, I'm going to grab our reference, and then we'll talk about adding that to the shots track here. Just a second. So let's take a look at the matinee shot that we're reproducing here. This is the starting frame, and it's just going to be smooth little move right into the curtains or so. So we'll kind of, generally reproduce that. I've set up the camera already kind of in the general starting pose you can see here. And also if you lock your camera cuts, the cinematic viewport will show your view there too. So that comes in real handy. I'm going to get out of that, and I'm going to frame, hitting F on my camera. So we're going to set keys, just 2 sets of keys, beginning and ending frame, and there's a couple of different ways to set keys. The first that I use is the S key. So at the frame 0, we'll just hit S, and it'll set keys in your location, rotation, and scale. There's another option too. Let's just show you that too. This is delete, and then we can go to, if you hit enter, let me hit the camera and hit enter, it's going to key all your components too, including focal length and focal distance, aperture. It's just another option. You can use whatever. When I'm just moving cameras here, I'm just going to use it using the S key. So that's how I'm going to set for this first one. And then we're going to move our camera in to the last frame, at frame 150. So I can set an auto key here by turning this on when this is highlighted. When I move the camera, it will detect that, and it will set a key, just like any other 3D app that has auto key. If I move this camera, and we'll just say it goes there, it automatically set the keys. It detected the change in the location, rotation, and scale, and set those keys. So you can use that. I sometimes use it, sometimes don't. Just depends on my needs and stuff. So for now, I'm just going to turn that off and kind of eyeball it here. And you'll see this, this black stuff is the blockers for the room, for the rendering side of things. So don't worry about that. I'm just kind of working my way through to manipulate the camera here. So it's, we can say that's perfect. We'll go with that. So we're going to set a key, and I'm just going to use the S key again. So I set a key, and you can see the path that it generates there too. So if we slide based on the camera cuts, it will show us the animation. If you need to delete keyframes, like I said, just let's just go ahead and set some dummy keyframes here, just to kind of show that. And let me hit S again too. You can move keyframes just by grabbing them, sliding them, which is very handy, and delete just to, you've got them selected, just delete. So that's nice too. One thing to note is the curves that by default, the animation curves are going to be an ease in and ease out. That it's handy for our purposes here because that's what we want, but you can change the different types of interpolation up here, and there's also some hotkeys too. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 will set these various interpolations. So you can definitely check out the docs for those. A lot more information there. Wanted to just bring up some of the camera settings here. I had gone in and changed, I guess by default it was just kind of blurry aperture 2.8. So I just, change those. All your camera settings are here. Film back. There's lots of nice little helpers for tracking actors and things like that. Since we're doing real simple camera moves, this isn't something I want to go in any depth here. Focus settings, nice. There's a nice little dropper here to kind of select things if you want to do some depth of field focusing. It's really some really nice tools. It's real simple keyframes here that we're doing, so it's not really anything that I wanted to kind of spend too much time with. So I have this one camera completed. I'm going to do the exact same setting keys for the other 4 cameras, so we'll have 5 total cameras. I'm going to do those offline just so I don't bore you. Here are a few hotkeys I found can be really handy when using Sequencer. There's a nice page in the docs which shows more, so definitely check that out. But the control plus mouse wheel, you can zoom in and out of the Sequencer window to set keyframes like I mentioned. You can use the S key or you can use Auto key or Enter. Hit the spacebar to play. You can use the left and right arrows to step forward and step back by single frames, and use the up arrow to go back to the start. You can open Control 0 and Shift 0 to open and close the subtracks, the different sections of the values that we were keying there. If you wanted to hide some of those objects, you can hit the G for game mode to hide all the little icons and stuff in there. But you can also do Shift C and Shift D for the different viewports and stuff. We just kind of went with our setup in that in those 2 panel setup, and I just like to work that way. It just makes sense to me, but use what works best for you. And then you can shift to middle mouse to slide animation curves in the curve editor. So if you're just in that, what I call the dope sheet, the standard where we were just setting the keys, you can just grab those and slide them left or right, and they will stay locked to the horizontal axis. So along with the 5 cameras, we'll talk about importing cameras from DCCs, including 3D Studio Max and Maya in the next section.